Hi, my name is Kaylee Atkins, and this is my Module 11 speech about the death penalty. The death penalty, also known as capital punishment, has been practiced by Americans and by people all over the world, with the first time recorded being 1608. And since about 1976, it has been a hot topic. People have been arguing for years whether the death penalty is okay to practice, or whether we should stop using the death penalty as a form of punishment against people who are convicted of disgusting crimes. There have been several methods when using the death penalty, such as a firing squad, hanging, gas chamber, electrocution, and the lethal injection. Because using cruel and unusual punishment for the death penalty was found unconstitutional, our government began using the lethal injection in 1976. Since 1976, the total number of death penalty sentences has reached 1,448 people. Between 1976 and now, the year with the most executions was the year 1999, with 98 executions. As of July 1st, 2016, the state with the most death row inmates is California, with 741 inmates. A chart on the DPIC website shows a trend that states with a higher population have a higher number of inmates on death row. When people argue the death penalty, there are two obviously different sides, for capital punishment and against it. The people for capital punishment often argue that the death penalty is proper punishment for someone who has committed a heinous crime such as murder or rape. They also believe that the death penalty proves a lesson to people who might possibly commit the same crime. The people who argue against capital punishment use the fact that it costs more compared to keeping the criminal in prison for life without the possibility of parole. They also point out that killing someone for killing someone else is very hypocritical, and that there's always the possibility that an innocent person is wrongfully accused of a crime and killed for it. No one knows for sure how many people have been wrongfully accused of murder and put on death row for it, because more often than not, once a person has been executed, the case is dropped. The people that are for capital punishment have several opinions to prove their point. The first is that the criminal committed an awful crime, and the best way they can pay for it is an eye for an eye. Some people also believe that giving someone the death penalty is revenge, but others then believe that it is retribution, which makes giving the death penalty more reasonable. If a person commits murder, they should get the same end result as their victim. Another reason some people support capital punishment is because some people believe that it will give the family of the victim closure over their loved one's death. Finally, the death penalty sets an example for all those who ever plan on committing a serious crime such as murder or rape, like mentioned earlier. If the government shows the consequences of a serious crime to its citizens, the citizens will then hopefully learn from the others' mistakes and be less likely to commit such serious crimes. The people that are against capital punishment have just as many opinions to why we should stop using the death penalty. First, and possibly one of the most important, is that killing someone because they killed someone else seems very, very hypocritical. If the government is punishing someone for killing another human being, how is it okay for them to kill that person? Maybe it's justice, but it also seems a little unfair and hypocritical, like I said earlier. Another reason people believe that the death penalty is wrong is because sometimes people are wrongfully accused of crimes they didn't commit. If a person is wrongfully accused of a crime and put on death row, that person would be killed for no good reason. Also, since cruel and unusual punishment that we used to use for the death penalty was found unconstitutional, we began using the lethal injection. Because the lethal injection is so rare, it is very, very expensive. Most doctors who could administer the injection choose not to because they believe medicine is for helping, not hurting. So the injection is most commonly bought from outside the United States and administered by a rare doctor. Using the lethal injection to kill someone is more expensive than holding an inmate in prison for a life sentence. It would save taxpayers a lot of money to get rid of the death penalty. A survey from the DPIC shows that 39% of people would rather give the criminal life in prison without parole rather than the death penalty, while 33% say they would give the death penalty. In my opinion, I don't think we should use the death penalty. I think there are plenty of other ways to punish someone that's worse than death. Death, to me, would be the easy way to avoid the consequences of that person's actions. And if the government wanted a cheap and easy way to punish the criminal, solitary confinement is always a good option. If the criminal was placed with other criminals and the crime committed was serious and grotesque enough, other inmates in the prison would give the criminal enough hell for it as is. And as awful as all of this sounds, people who do awful things deserve awful things to happen to them, but not as hypocritical as death, in my opinion. The death penalty is a topic that has been very controversial for many years. Whether or not the death penalty should be used is a matter of opinion nowadays. Both sides of the argument have very good, logical points that are so contradictory it's hard to come up with the final say on the topic at hand. Thanks.